Miners are selling their BTC and so are XRP whales. We'll talk price action at the end. BTC gets rejected in this state. China imposes a new tariff. Have a drink along with...
I say lots of naughty things, so here's your warning.
I've got green on my screen because I want there to be a rally. Too bad there can't be green on this screen for a real rally. Oh, it's frustrating. Before we get into the crypto news, your comments come first. Hot, spicy, naughty, and relevant. Maybe I'll share it with everyone at the beginning of the next video. 2006 STI, love my Subi fans before vaping was cool, says yes, I was watching a blank screen. Comment down below if you know what I was talking about. Gotcha, girlfriend. Latter Day Today says, well, first dropping support on the channel. Thank you much. Says, hey, I'm from the Ripple team. Here's your monthly hype man payment. Good job throwing the people off your scent by reporting all the crypto news. Good, bad, happy, or sad. Yeah, someone said I was a shill for Ripple. Dude, I rip and praise on everyone out there. You do good, I say you do good things. You do bad, I call you out on it. Chris Holdsworth says, only chance for crypto and gaming is GTA 6. No, you take that back, Chris. I do not want GTA 6 messed up by some blockchain bullshit. Don't you dare add crypto to frickin' Grand Theft Auto. Love to Ride One dropping support on the channel says thank you. Well, you're welcome, and thank you for the support. Oh, please change it to green. Bitcoin sitting at 84,124. ETH is 1584. Solar 125. XRP is at 208. BNB is at 580, while 8 is at 60.7. Doge at 15.3, while HBAR is at 15.7. XLM at 23.6, while ICP rounds it out at 475. Get ready to drink, girlfriend. Why? Because the U.S. imposes a 245% tariff on Chinese imports. The White House has announced a major hike in tariffs, imposing up to 245% on Chinese imports. This sharp increase is a response to China's retaliatory measures against the U.S. previous tariffs. Remember I told you last week, it's going to happen is we're going to have a little bit of tariff ping pong, drink again. One side announces 100%. Then the other side comes back at 125. Then they come back at 150. Then they come back at 175. It's like a bidding war for a frickin' house. Welcome to the jungle, the financial jungle essays and Chiquita essays. What's the girl version of essays? I don't know. Essays seems very masculine to me. What's the feminine version of that? Semler Scientific pursues up to $500 million to expand its Bitcoin holdings. Okay, let's learn about that. In a decisive move, Semler Scientific has submitted Form S3 with the SEC, including plans to issue common stock, preferred stock, and debt securities and warrants to raise up to $500 million. While the specific allocation for BTC remains undisclosed, the company's filings suggest a robust intent to buy more. They want to buy more BTC. It says we have not determined the amount of net proceeds to be used, but as a result, management will retain a broad discretion over the allocation. Basically, what they're doing is this. They're pulling a sailor, all right? Raising a bunch of money, using it to buy BTC. Now, listen to this, okay? This talks about the stages of where players are at, okay? Previously, Semler acquired 871 BTC for approximately $88 million. You're like, Klaus, that's nothing. That's peanuts. I know. But their average price was $101,000 per BTC. Let's go to the heat map. Oh, shit. They're in the red by a lot. Okay, cool. Let's keep learning. Bitcoin miners are selling more BTC to make ends meet. Data firm CryptoQuant said in a Tuesday report that miners last week stepped up their selling as the price of crypto dipped below 80,000. The firm said that on April 7th, miners sold 15,000 BTC, the third largest daily outflow this year. That's 1.12 billion worth of BTC based on that day's price. Increased market volatility with stocks and crypto meant that the miners had to sell. And I told you, you gotta pay attention to the miners. Listen to this. Miner margins have been pressured by lower prices, but also with depressed transaction fees and record high Bitcoin network hash rate, which implies higher mining costs, sending the average operating margins down from 53% in January to 33% today. So essentially what's happening is the miners, right, of that Bitcoin mining economy, They're making less. We talked about the Bitcoin halving. So if you're making less for your product, you got to sell that product. Where before the miners could hodl, right? They could sit on that BTC and just let it accumulate. Now they got to sell it to keep the lights on. Sailor filed a registration form that said, guess what? We might have to sell our BTC to keep the lights on too. Semler Scientific bought a whole ton of BTC, over 100,000, so those purchases are in the red. This is not good for a lot of players out there. So the longer BTC stays in the red, and I know, look, I'm doing my part. I've got the green lights on in my background. Maybe you should put the green lights on your porch, okay? And no, it's not to celebrate 420, although, well, we will be celebrating. Maybe you should put your green lights on your porch to celebrate 420. But I'm going to be putting my green lights on to celebrate the green in the crypto market. But players out there are getting a little nervous because a lot of players that got deep into BTC are bleeding red right now. Let's keep learning. Oklahoma says no to BTC reserve. Like Dikembe Mutombo, they were like, not in my house. My accent for Dikembe Mutombo sucks. If you want me to do my German Führer accent, I can do that. Dikembe Mutombo, I cannot do that. According to data from the Oklahoma State Legislature, House Bill 1203 failed to advance the Senate Revenue and Taxation Committee after a close 6-5 vote. The decision effectively puts an end to the state's legislative efforts. The reason I'm sharing this with you is because we've seen a huge push from states to adopt BTC as a strategic reserve. In fact, you're going to see the states do this faster than you will see the feds. The feds, right, the federal government is like the Titanic. They're very fucking slow to steer the ship. All right, they see the iceberg. They're like, yo, if we steer the ship now, we can avoid the iceberg. No, they don't steer the ship right now. So, states' rights with cannabis, check. Green in the background. 420, done. States' rights with crypto, check. Waiting for players to approve it, share it with you, hit that notification bell so you don't miss out. Let's keep learning. Whales dump over 370 million XRP since the start of April. That's probably not a good thing. And remember, my job is to bring you the news, good or bad, happy or sad. So the commenter yesterday that said I was a Ripple shill, well, you're a complete fucking idiot. Because here comes some negative news, bitch boy. Since the start of April, XRP whales have been on a selling spree, offloading over 370 million tokens as the asset attempts to stabilize above the $2 mark. Don't worry, we're going to talk XRP price because I've got you covered. Wallets holding between 100,000 and 1 million XRP have been steadily declining balances since early April, coinciding with rising volatility since April 15th data. Now, I'm sharing this with you because you're seeing the whales go on huge buying sprees along with selling sprees. What we're learning from this is essentially this. Whales are not hodling. They're making money on the price swings. In fact, when we go to XRP, okay, there's something you got to see right here, okay? You see this move right here at 250? That move coincides right there with institutional players selling at the 250 mark. I shared that with you when it happened about a month ago. Institutional players all dumped their bag at the 250 mark, and I did a video where institutional holders sold at 250, where mega wallets of 10 million XRP and higher all dumped. Then I did a video about a week and a half later where mega wallets of XRP, a million XRP or higher, went on an absolute buying spree. They bought the dip, okay? So what's happening is these XRP bigs, they're not hodling. They're playing the 20 to 30% swings in the market. They're playing the volatility. Now, that being said, if you want to go a step deeper, okay, that's why I bring these pairings up here. The Korean won pairing bought the dip on Sunday, Bloody Sunday. They then sold on that 250 sell-off. So they were the ones buying the dip heavily when XRP went to $1.77 and sold it heavily when it went to 250. So think about that. They were able to buy around 177, 180, sell at 250. Dude, they were making good money on that. They were making 30, 40, 50% in a couple of weeks. Only to be able to what, everyone? To be able to buy the dip all over again, rinse and repeat. So I'm not saying that the whales are dumping XRP because they don't believe. They dump XRP because what are they doing? They're buying the tips. they're selling the dips, and they're rinsing and repeating over and over again. In fact, we've seen this now several times already during this movement where players are buying sub $2 and dumping it at $2.30 to $2.50. Now, in the broader crypto market, volume a little bit on the boring side, 75 billion. All right? Not the juiciest. We're going into Easter. Traditional finance is kind of sinking its little dirty fingers into the crypto market ever since the ETFs with BTC. So now we kind of trade like the boring traditional finance markets. So on these Easter holidays, Christmas holiday was the same thing. We saw the same thing with Thanksgiving. These players like to take it off. Right now we're BTC dominant, 15 out of 100, which basically means BTC goes down 1%. Rest of the market, ETH down 3%, XRP down 3%, SOLANA down 4%. You see what I'm saying? BTC maintains its gains the best. But like I said, volume down because this is holiday. Look for some super low volume. That was almost spooky, like spooky. It's not fucking Halloween, Klaus. It's Easter time. Look for some super low volume this Easter and look for what? Look for a little bit more tariff news. Have another drink. I was good in yesterday's video and I didn't say the T word at all. Not low T, but the almost said it. But look for a little bit more tariff news this week, but then look for it to quiet down and then ramp up again next week after the Easter weekend, okay? Now let's go dive into XRP specifically, okay? Let's go to the candlesticks. Let's go to 15 minutes because 15 minutes is how long it should take for you to do what you need to do. I said to you yesterday, I said, look, 218 and change is where I'm paying a lot of attention to. Check this out. Look at this 218 mark right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 times here in the last several days, we have been rejected at the 218 mark. That tells you something. The market wasn't ready for it. In fact, specifically, since we got rejected at the 225 mark, the 218 mark was the next push down point. We've been rejected 5 times. Now, we did get that little temporary support here at 203. But yo, the market's saying 218, we ain't touching that. So, on the high side alert, I'm at 220. On the low side, I'm right now at $2. I want to see what happens with this volume-wise. I want to see on the pairings who's buying. Because look, when all of a sudden the Korean won pairing starts moving a little bit more than the Binance pairing, then we know who's buying with the Koreans, and they've been good at timing the dip. Right? I want to see if the regional buying is happening because I shared the story with you yesterday about how the Binance players have been more optimistic with XRP than the rest of the market. See, this all has to do with volume. And the volume is important because we shared yesterday, or we learned yesterday, that there's 10 XRP ETF filings. Double the next player out there in the market. And it all has to do with volume. Speaking of volume for XRP, the volume right now is at 3.2 billion, higher than where we were before the election pumperoni news, right? Ever since the old Trump election. So we're still doing better with volume. We are still holding the $2 mark. Yeah, it doesn't look as juicy as we would like it to be. For the 1 week chart, yo, it's cool because this is higher than we were where we were bleeding off there a week ago. The 1 month chart, though, shows what? Opportunities. Opportunities if you want to stack long term because you're easily able to get XRP under $2. You're easily able to get some short term swing plays here, buying sub $2 and selling above that mark. And of course, what everyone, opportunities to really hit some home runs if you believe. Why? Because the volatility is there along with the volume, which means what? Opportunities if you can snipe in time. And right now, what are the whales doing? They're not hodling, everyone. They're sniping, buying the dips, selling the tips, making money on what? On volatility. That's why I try to bring you the news on whether you are a short, mid, or long-term player, right? Whether you're buying or selling, because the whales are doing what, everyone? They're buying and selling. They're not hodling, they're not stacking, they're just making money on the volatility. The reason they're doing that is because we're going to be in a volatile market for a while. Because once we're done with the tariffs, we're still dealing with some macros. And we're dealing with what? We're dealing with rates still. We're also dealing with what? Rating for regulations. Yep, here we are in April. We still don't have a stablecoin bill. We still don't have any sort of reasonable draft when it comes to crypto regs. So we still got, what, Garmin? We still got time. So since we still have time, the bigs out there are like, yo, we got time to be greedy to buy the dips and tips. Because remember, you could go all over crypto Twitter, crypto X, whatever you want to call it, where players are like, yo, train left the station, you're never going to be able to get prices this low again. And you're like, oh, really, girlfriend? Because I remember the last time XRP got to $1.90 and all those influencers like, yo, you're never going to get priced like that again. Oh, never going to get priced like that again. And you're like, oh, why? Because the train left the station? Girlfriend, no. Because no. Choo-choo what? Oh, I got the sign on. Choo-choo bitches.
My bitch better have my money.